back. Happy New Year. So I have a bit of a different spread for you today. Normally, if you've seen some of my previous videos, my spreads tend to be pretty elaborate and heavy on detail and doodling, and I wanted to kind of take it down a notch. Mainly just for the setup right now. I might want to be more ornate throughout the year in some of my weekly spreads. I don't know. But the thing is that this past year has been kind of a whirlwind. I had my third kid, so I'm constantly, being pulled in different directions. So being able to sit down and bullet journal is really something that has become more of a necessity rather than a creative outlet, which I think I want to make it more of a creative outlet again like it has been in the past, but for right now, we are going for minimal, for bare, for simple, and for functional. So if you're looking for something that's like that, then check out this video because this is exactly what this is. It's a bare bones kind of spread, but I wanted to share with you kind of what I do and how I use it. I make it, with a little bit of pops of color just to have something going on, but I really didn't want to spend too much time on it because I wanted to get things going, especially since the new year has actually started. Oh, I think my little girl's talking anyways. She's trying to get my attention. But since the new year has already started, I didn't want to spend too much time just slowing myself down. I just want to get into it and start planning and start getting my year in order. So anyways, I hope you guys like this video. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.
If you like the book, I hope you love it.
So that was my son, Julius. He wanted to do a little intro on the video, which I thought was adorable. He actually did set up my previous bullet journal. You can see there was like a sticker and it said Julius and Jack. That was him. So that was his contribution to the video. But anyways, moving on. Right now I'm just doing my 2020 header page setup, and I wanted to keep it very, very simple. So I just put 2020 on there. I'm using my Micron 05, I believe, for this one. And I did a different font than I typically do just because I wanted to change it up. Usually I would do some sort of like fancy hand lettering, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep it all simple. The whole point was to keep everything simple this year and to not go overflowing with frills. So I'm using my Funosuke pen right now to fill it in and kind of shade it up. There were some parts in the twos that were still really thin, so I went through and I thickened those up as well, just so that way it looked a little bit more consistent, because right now it looks a little bit skinny, and I didn't really like that. So here it is. I'm using that. Sorry if my throat's a little bit raspy. I'm kind of getting over a cold right now. But so right now I'm using my Tombow twin tip marker, and this is just to write 2020. I thought it looked a little bit simple, so I ended up adding a little bit of drop shadow with just like a regular gel pen that I use. And these are my favorite gel pens. Actually, I got them on Amazon, and I'll link them down below for you guys because they come in a pack of 12 and they're really, really fine tipped. I think it's like a 0.38 pen. And it's seriously my favorite gel pen. So yeah, I'll link those down below for you guys to check out. But that's just my super simple header page, nothing crazy. And then moving on. For this page, I wanted to just do a key that was very basic. I already use the same symbols that I always use, which is the dot for a task, a circle for an event, X for completed, a greater than symbol for migrated, and then a strike through for canceled. But what I wanted to do differently, which was put down how many squares are across the page, how many squares are down the page, and then I typically do columns of 3, so I did also break down the columns of 3 with spaces in between. And this I felt was really, really helpful So that way I can just reference this in the future so I don't have to keep counting out and figuring out the math every single time. So this is just something simple that I like to do. And there's my Arizona mug. I just thought I'd highlight that. I don't live in Arizona, but I'm from Arizona, and my husband just got me that mug, and I love it so much. So thought it would be fun to feature that in the video. But yeah, so that's my key page. Very, very simple, but functional. I was going to add some more spacing, but I thought that was enough. And next what we have is the future log. And I use this as a future log and a functioning Calendex, which I was thinking of doing a video on my Calendex system if that's something that you feel would be useful. If you do, just leave me a comment down below and I will do a full video on how I use the Calendex system and how it functions for me. But anyways, right now I'm just doing some symbol columns. These columns are 7 wide, and the reason I did that is because I'm going to add the date and the number, or the date and the day of the week into the sides of the columns, and so I wanted to have space for that. So right now it's just basically the setup of that and kind of getting those in order. I kind of did miscalculate the width of the columns for this first page, which was a little bit annoying because there's going to be like one extra empty column, and then the last column, the last like box is actually a little bit narrower. But that's just like a super minor detail that I probably won't even remember is there, so it's like no big deal. So the next page is actually done the correct way with the right amount of columns and spacing. So this is kind of a tedious task. It's always annoying setting this up, but it's definitely worth it because it's something that I use constantly, and I definitely know that it's going to be very useful in the future. So what I'm doing now is I'm just adding in the headers with the same colored marker. I'm using only that same pink twin tone marker for the entire setup just because I wanted to keep it consistent. And then I'm going over it with my gel pen to make it a little bit more crisp. And then here comes like the super tedious part, which is writing in all the days and then its corresponding day of the week. So I just do one letter for the corresponding day of the week and kind of just go from there. And I find this really, really useful just because I don't have to kind of go through my calendar and see like, oh, what day of the week is this on? I just like automatically know from glancing at that what it is. So it's really, really useful. And then typically when I set up my bullet journal, I'll go through and I'll put birthdays in here, any major events that I know already that are happening, any holidays. I usually go through my kids' school calendar and write down any days that school is closed, because it's really important for me to be able to like visualize that and kind of plan ahead. And then anytime there's like a full moon, I like to put that because I feel like full moons kind of affect my mood, and so I like to know when a full moon is coming. So I usually put that in my calendar as well, in my future log. But just quickly to kind of describe the Calendex system, essentially if I'm in my bullet journal, I will, write down an event that's coming up in red ink, and then say, it's in, like, say July 2nd, I have an appointment. Then I would come into my future log on July 2nd. I would write the page number of where that's written on with a square on it, a box around it in red ink. So when I'm finally going through to that week to plan that week, I go into my future log, I see, okay, what do I have going on this week? And then I realize that I have something on whatever page that I wrote down. So I flip back to that page and I have all the details and information that I need for that appointment. So sometimes it's just as simple as like a date and time, but other times it's information about like the location, there's an office building, someone I'm going to meet with, things like that. So that's kind of a brief overview of the Calendex system. And then very, very simple future log on top. I wanted to keep it very simple, not ornate, and then kind of just make it very clear. And so I'm kind of messing with my pens right now because I keep finding dry pens and it's really frustrating, but I ended up sticking with my Staedtler Tri Plus fine liners. Those have been tried and true since my very first bullet journal, which was 4 years ago. So you can see that these stand the test of time. The only one that's dried out is my pink one, and that's because I lost the cap. The rest of them all write amazingly. So if you're thinking about getting those, they definitely last you and they're really, really good. So I would recommend getting those. And so that was the first 6 months of the year. This is the second 6 months of the year. What I did, if you can kind of tell on the top, is I wrote the first couple days and the last day of the month, so I knew how many days of the month there were. And then I also put the day of the week for the corresponding first couple days, and that helped me fill it out a lot faster. And then I made the setup of this exactly the same. You'll see I'm having to do a little bit one-handed for a while because I had to hold my baby and she was fussing, and so mom's got to do what a mom's got to do. And so there's my key, my color key of how I use my future log. So birthdays are pink, trips are green, holidays are blue, events are orange, Calendex is red, school clothes is bright green, and then full moon is black. And then after that, I wanted to do just like a quick page for my Girl Meets Bujo YouTube page. So I wanted to do a quick little tracker of subscribers. I kind of wanted to take things a little bit more seriously. There's that tiny little hand. How cute is that little hand? I wanted to take things up a notch this year and really try to make my content a lot more regular. So I feel like this first little tracker is going to be just a quick little subscriber count. Not too many. I'm just going, hoping for 5,000 and seeing if I can get there. And then, if I hit that, then maybe I'll do another tracker later on in the year. But, I feel like right now I'm all about small goals, little victories. And so I think that's a small goal that I can hopefully attain. So the header I did very simple. I just did a line and then I wrote on top of it. Very, very simple, clean. And then on the bottom is video ideas. I usually would do like a subscriber count page to take up the whole page, but I didn't want to do that this time because like I said, I wanted to do small goals, and so I figured that my video ideas page and that could be combined into one. And so then the next one is a spread that I haven't done in I didn't do it in my last bullet journal, but I did do it in the previous one in 2017, and it's When Did I Last? And it's just kind of like a self-care spread where I can see when was the last time I had a haircut, when was the last time I got a mani-pedi, got a massage, had a date night with my husband, when was the last time I hung out with my friends, and when was the last time I visited Arizona. And my family's in Arizona, so I like to keep track of when was the last time that I went and saw them. So these are really nice because I get to see kind of how often I kind of take care of myself and how often I, focus on these things that are important to me. So I like this spread. Very, very simple. The last one that I did was a lot more ornate, and it took a very long time to do it, but I felt like that's not necessary. And then this page is, I have a baby girl who is about to be 6 months old, and so this is her milestones page, and I'm just going to go through and just put different milestones as they come. I have a baby book for her, but this is just something separate. And here, if you notice, the pages were stuck together a little bit, which I thought was really weird. So I ended up taping them together because that was annoying me a lot, and I didn't want to have to like deal with like a random blank page. So I just stuck them together to kind of eliminate that annoying bit. And then this is my January header page. I was going to do something elaborate, but I ended up just going with writing January in a simple font and kept it really, really simple. And then this is my month at a glance, which I stopped doing for a while, but I really, really like doing this. I just do the days of the week, or days of the month, and then the corresponding day of the week. And I quickly go through my my future log and put in any dates, any birthdays, any events. And then as things come up, I kind of just drop them in there. It's kind of repetitive having a future log and having this, but I really like having it for some reason. So that stays. And my pages kind of got stuck a little bit together because I went over with the tape, which was kind of annoying, but whatever. I found out that if you use eraser, it erases off some of the tape. So I ended up doing that a little bit later just to kind of clear it up. And so the next thing I'm doing is a mood tracker, which I tend to do mood trackers pretty frequently, and they're usually very ornate, but again, I wanted to keep this all very, very, very simple, something you can do quickly and set up very fast. So because you can kind of see that the days of the month sort of ghosted through the page, I used that as my guideline to make a column that is 31 days long to go with the 31 days of the month, and it's 2 squares wide, so just so it's like a little bit more substantial. And I'm basically going to go through the month and kind of fill in the corresponding colors of my mood, just kind of filling in the column as it goes. I'm not going to do like every day corresponding to each square, like so it's exactly like the 31st on the 31st, things like that. I'm just going to go from the top to the bottom, and if I don't fill out the entire column, that's perfectly fine with me. I feel like it'll just be interesting to see the rainbow of colors that'll come at, kind of just go through the month. So I just did a few moods just to see how that would work, and hopefully this tracker will work nicely just so I can see like a quick overview rather than this elaborate drawing. And then my waiting on page, which is like anytime I have orders or things that I'm waiting on, packages, things like that. I usually do a weekly waiting on page, but I decided that I wanted to do a monthly one because I wanted to kind of see monthly how many things I order and how many things that I kind of am waiting for. I feel like sometimes I end up having to carry things over from week to week because packages are taking a long time. So it's nice to just have one dump page where they can all go and I can just cross them off as I need to. And this is my last spread. This is my first weekly, which you can tell starts on the second week of the month because I got started a little bit late, but that's fine with me. It's no big deal. It's like better late than never. I always like to have my week at a glance on the left to have any kind of appointments or whatever, and then my to-do list on the right. Super simple, but very functional. And so here's a quick flip through just to see, what it is. I hope you guys like this. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next video. All right, thanks so much. Bye.